Hey everybody, welcome to admin panel training for the Young Heart study. This video will walk you through the admin panel and introduce you to some of the features that you'll be using in the admin panel. The admin panel can be a very useful tool for you as the study progresses. So you'll just want to familiarize yourself by watching this video and also just kind of playing around with the admin panel. So the very first time that you log into the admin panel, you want to note this address. So this is important to know. We're on stage right now, younghearts.hehtech.io. That's always stage/admin. So that's where you'll want to go to start out. You'll see this page that's asking you to log in, but the very first time that you do log in, you'll need to actually request an admin account. So I'll click on that. You'll fill this out, hit continue request. It'll ask you just to verify a few questions such as making sure that you're on the IRB for this study and things like that. And then I'll actually have to go in and confirm that you are, you can be an admin for the study. So that's what you'll want to do the very first time. You'll also have to register your phone for Duo to authenticate yourself, and you'll use Duo every single time that you log into the admin panel. So I'll go back to this login screen and I will use a test user that I have. And as you can see, it prompts me to use Duo. The very first time, like I said, you'll need to add a device to activate it. And I'm doing this on my phone. All right, and again, every time you log into the admin panel, you'll have to go through Duo. So this is a test account that I have, a test admin panel. And once you do log in, this is pretty much what you'll see. It's going to look the same on stage, our testing site, as well as production, our live site. You'll notice that it's Young Hearts. You see our logo here. You also see all these tabs here. One thing to note here is that I'm this test admin user is a manager. So study managers will actually be able to accept different admins in the study. So they can make other admins either a manager or just a regular admin, and only the managers have those admin privileges. So let's go ahead and just dive into each one of these tabs and get you comfortable with accessing some of these features. So as you can see, we have some main tabs here. It's participants, messages, reports, and settings. Participants and reports, you'll probably use these the most because participants is where you actually see all the participants in your study. You'll see if they've completed activities, you'll see their contact information, things like that. Reports, that's where you can actually go into your admin panel at any point of the study and access data. So any surveys that participants have completed, you'll be able to download those data reports right then and there and even do simple analysis, once you've downloaded them on your computer. You'll also see maintenance reports. So that's kind of like the overview of your participants with recruitment, user contact reports, anything like any sort of like big stats. That's what you'll be seeing in the maintenance reports. Just a disclaimer here, since we just put the study on stage this week, there are a few features of the admin panel that are not working. Reports being one of them. We just have not enabled those yet. That will be coming in the next few weeks. But I will add a video for a different study on reports, just so you can get used to those and kind of know what's coming. So let's go ahead and start. Let's click around. Let's go into admins. So like I said, this test user, this test admin account, they are a manager. So they have the manager privileges of approving admins or not. You'll see here in this admin tab, we have two admins so far. One is mine. That's my actual admin account. And then the other one is the test user, which is the one I'm logged into right now. So you'll see their name, you'll see their email, you'll see what role they are and their status. So this is if they were approved, denied, or if they have requested, and what time that they self-certified themselves. So let's say that I am a study manager and I have a new coordinator and I want to make them a study admin, but I don't want to make them a manager because manager is my role. I would see their name, their email address, and then I would see a requested status here. So when I do see that, I would click this little pen here. I would hit approved, and then I would make them a study admin, hit save. I'm not going to do that here because I want to keep the study manager role for testing purposes. But that is really the main difference between a study manager and a study admin. Manager has the admin approval or denial privileges, where the regular admin does not. Okay. And once we do get you guys into the admin panel, we'll just want to, decide, okay, who's a study manager and who's just a regular admin. So the next tab is this participants tab. This, like I said, is very useful because you'll see all of the study participants and information about those participants. So again, this is staged, so this is all fake data. So as you can see, we have 3 total users right now, 3 active users, 1 consented, and 0 confirmed. So what's important to note here in this consented is going off of that, if you guys remember, the kind of fake e-consent that's given to a participant in onboarding. So it's not actually the DocuSign consent, the actual consent for the study. It's going off of that little e-consent in the very beginning. So you'll see, are they consented? Yes. In this case, this participant is consented fully in DocuSign, but just note that that is going off of that e-consent. Okay, into the other tabs here. So you have your participant ID. Every participant is going to have a participant ID, which is their Eureka ID in Eureka. So if they are in multiple studies, they'll have the same Eureka ID throughout. You'll have their name, email address, date of birth. If they are active, they're consented. Again, that's based off of the e-consent. The date they consented with the e-consent. This confirmed means if we sent them a confirmation email so they can verify their email address. We're not actually doing that in this study, so you can kind of ignore this for now. It's possible you may have participants who enroll who already have a Eureka ID. They're a participant in another study and they did confirm in a different study. So there you might see a confirmation date, but really shouldn't worry about that in this study. And then also there is the handoff tool, which we'll go over in a moment. So in participants, a couple things we'll want to note here. You can click on the participant ID and the participant name, and each one is going to lead you down some different features that you can work with. So if you click on participant ID, go ahead there, you'll see the participant name, email, you won't see their password, you'll see their birth date, and then a few other functions here. So this is useful if a participant writes in or calls and they say, you know what, hey, my email address has changed. You can actually go in and change it for them. Change this, hit save, boom, it's done. They can now log in with their new email address that you changed it to. Same thing with their name here, if there ever needs to be a change made. Also with their password, if they write in and they're like, hey, I forgot my password, we do have a feature where they can, the forgot password feature, that they can actually request their password through Eureka. Sometimes there has been bugs in the past with that, so maybe they write in and they say it's not working, or they just need help with their password reset. You can go in and type in a new password for them, let them know. For the study, it might be something like, hey, your new password is Young Hearts, and I just changed it. And then they could change it again once they are logged into their account. but that's where you update that information. Again, the email confirmation there, you can click that. Like, let's say if they did write in with their email address, that would be a way of confirming their email, but probably not going to use that. And then what is important here is this test user question. So again, we're in stage. All of these users are test users, so you don't really need to worry about clicking on it yet. But when we do move into production, this is going to be very important if you create any test users on the live site. You'll want to go in and click test user and hit save, because that will mark them, they'll flag them as a test user. They won't show up in data reports because obviously we don't want the fake data in our data reports, and it'll just carry them on throughout the study as a test user. So again, important when we actually do move to the production site and we're creating test users. Also here, you can mark their status. So active, inactive, withdrawn, and finished. It's nice, we have nice little blurbs here that let you know what each one of those statuses mean. So if a participant is enrolled, they're an active participant, you'll see active. You can change that to inactive. Or if a participant withdraws from the study, obviously you'll want to go in and mark them as such, withdrawn. And then once the study is over in 2 years, this will automatically go over to finished. So to change the status, you would just click on the one you want and hit save. Won't need to worry about this adding consent here, but you might be interested in looking at this referral. So if you do click on a participant ID, you can see, if they are attached to a specific referral and what their UPC is. So that's here. Also, in this study, if someone enrolls and they're like, oh, shoot, I forgot to actually put in my UPC, maybe they somehow got on the general recruitment Young Hearts site, you can go in and you can add that referral to them so that they'll be included in any reports. They'll be tied to those referrals with that UPC. Okay, so I'll go back to the participant view. And then now let's click on the participant name. So now you're going to see some different things here. So that's Eureka ID versus the participant in this study, their name. So basic info, you'll see contact information, email address, phone number if they've input it. The e-consent, again, that's the small e-consent that we needed in the tech view in onboarding. And then this DocuSign will be the actual consent for the study. So you can download this if you need it. Sometimes participants, maybe they're a couple years in the study and they're like, wait, I don't remember signing up for this, and I need proof of this. So you could download this and send it to them. Right? Activity. So activity, this is going to show you their activities in the study and kind of let you know where they are in the study. So for this participant, Miranda, she has completed eVisit 1, or actually it expired on her, and then she is in eVisit 2 now. So you'll see the dates opened on 12/16. That's an interesting date there, but I went in and expired that. Somehow it's a future date. That won't happen in the live site, it shouldn't. But if we can click on this general, and this was eVisit 1. So anything that has a green check mark here lets you know that it was actually completed by the participant. If that has an X here, that means it was not completed. They did not finish it. In this case, it expired. If we move to eVisit 2, you'll see that there's just a gray circle here. And that means that the participant, it's open, they have not yet completed it, and it has not expired. So it's just kind of waiting there for the participant to complete. All right. Next tab is messages. So this is actually a bug that I found earlier where you should expect to see the messages that have been given to the participants. So in Miranda's case, I know that she's gone through eVisit 1, she's consented, she has eVisit 2 open, so I would expect to see those messages listed here. Like the welcome email, the eVisit 1 and 2 open emails, those should be here. So once we do fix that, this is where you'll expect to see those messages. And you can even look ahead and see like what messages are coming up her way. I think it must be something where messages are not enabled yet. But this is where you can check and see, and also kind of test yourself too and see, make sure those messages are coming in at the right time, and the participant is receiving messages. All right, we'll skip over health data and notes. Those don't really apply to this study. Pin messages are kind of the same thing. We do have pin messages in this study, but I think it kind of goes along with this messaging tab where they're just not showing yet. All right, and then coordinator forms and coordinator proxy data entry. Again, we aren't using those in this study, so you can just ignore those for now. Another thing you'll see here is just the last time the participant was active and when they registered. That can be useful sometimes to know like if a participant is engaged or actually participating. So in this case, I know that I registered my user on 12/16 and I actually completed some surveys today, so 12/17. So that lets me know when they were last active and when they were registered. All right, let's go back to participants view. And the last thing that I want to show you in the participants view is this handoff feature. So I'm going to go back to Miranda, and let's say that she has written in an email and she just needs some help on one of the surveys that she's trying to answer. And maybe it's easier for the coordinator or whoever to actually see, go into her profile and see which survey or question she's talking about. This is where the handoff feature can be used, and it's really useful. So I would hit go, and I'm going to open this in a new tab. Okay, handoff to Miranda. This is going to ask you, is this you? Yes, it's me. And now I'm actually in Miranda's account. I'm on her home screen, and you can see, where she is. She has this address collection up next. But if in any case, you needed to go into a participant's profile as the participant, this is where you would use handoff. You just want to be very careful and make sure you're not actually answering any survey questions for the participant, because if you do, then that's going to be saved as the participant. So you are now logged in as the participant, but it can be a useful tool, like I said, to kind of see where they are, or seeing what they're seeing on their screen. And it can also be helpful if a participant reports a bug or an issue and you don't really have clarity on what they mean. So maybe you would try to log in as the participant and understand what they're saying. Okay, close that out. All right, going to the next tab, DocuSign. So since our study consents are using DocuSign, all of the DocuSign consents will be listed here. So we just have one participant consented right now, and that lists their ID, which consent that they signed. You can download that DocuSign, and then when they actually approved the DocuSign. So just kind of like a nifty place to see all of those consents. Next tab is messages. So what you're seeing right now, these are the standard Eureka messages. So things like the email confirmation, forgot password messages, reset password, those types of things. Like I said, something is going on with the messages in the study right now. I don't think that the study messages are enabled, but once they are, you will expect to see all of the study messages here. So each one of the ones that we worked on, all the emails, texts, push messages, any of those, you should expect to see them here. All right. And then reports. So I kind of mentioned this earlier, but there are 3 different categories of reports. So the maintenance reports, like I said, are going to give you kind of more of an overview of the participants and the study as a whole. So you would click on this and they would show up here. You can download them as a CSV file. They're not enabled at this moment in time, so you can expect to see them in the coming weeks. Same thing with study data exports. So this is the actual survey data in the study. So you can click on, let's say I want to look at the demographics from ages 0 to 17. I could actually go in and click on that report, download it, and then I would see all of the survey responses from my participants in that one report. This consolidated survey exports, so there may be a few surveys that have multiple versions. So let's say that we have maybe changed something, we've changed a survey question, we changed an answer choice. That would be a different version. So we would have, the original, and then the next one is the updated file, the updated survey. In your study data exports, you're going to see each one of those versions. So, the original one would be 0. The updated one would be 1. If you update it again, it would be 2. So what the consolidated survey exports does, it consolidates all of those survey versions into one, so you're not having to click on each individual version if that's what you need at the time. If you needed to go back and look at a particular version, of course, you would go into Study Data Exports and then click on the one that you were looking for. Again, we will expect to see all of the data reports here in the coming weeks. Okay. And then the last tab here is Settings. And the only thing in Settings is Referrals. And if you'll remember, we have referrals in this study because we are using those UPCs, and those UPCs are tied to referrals. So you will be able to see your referrals here, and we have 2 right now, and these are just for testing. So for the actual site, live site, you'll see those referrals here. But it lets you know the ID, and you'll want to note this because in reports, in recruitment reports, you'll see the referral ID instead of the referral name. So you'll want to know, what number or what ID number is correlating to each referral. So you'll see the ID, the name, if it's just a regular referral or if it's a verification code. I believe all of the referrals we're going to be using for our study, it's going to be verification code because we're using UPCs. This one is just basic for testing. You'll see the study key or the slug, the slash, whatever is going to be the slug here, or the study key on the mobile app. If it's active, a little description, and then the URLs to actually access those referrals. So this is just, it can be used to see what the referrals are in the study. You can also make a new referral, but since we are using those UPCs with referrals, we're going to be tied to a referral site, we'll more than likely make those for you, so you probably won't have to make a new referral by yourself. All right, and that pretty much covers just a general overview of the admin panel and some of the features. Like I said, I will also send you another video tied to a different study just that goes in a little bit more in depth with the reports, so you can get acquainted with those. Yeah, please feel free to play around with the admin panel, click around. Once you do move into testing, you'll see more test users created, so there'll be more data to look through. Once we get those reports on there, that'll be another thing to kind of test through, making sure that you understand the reports and how to manipulate those. But yeah, happy to answer any questions for you guys or go over any parts in an upcoming meeting. Thank you.